morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2026 Keystone Agricultural Producers Annual General Meeting. Thank you all for being here and taking the time out of your busy lives to join us. It's great to see so many producers, partners, government representatives, and industry stakeholders in the room, and we're looking forward to a productive day together. It's hard to believe that another year has already wrapped up. For CAP, this past year kept us busier than we could have ever imagined, and we want to share some of the progress over the last year with you. Our work continues to be guided by CAP's strategic plan, which began in 2024. That plan has given us clear direction and focus, ensuring the strategic objectives set by our farmer board remain at the forefront for everything that we do and that we deliver value for Manitoba producers. With a strong focus on advocacy, engagement, and outreach, as well as regulatory modernization, CAP has delivered wins for our members across the board. At the federal level, one of the most significant shared successes for agriculture was the removal of the federal consumer carbon pricing regime, eliminating additional costs for producers relating to drying grain and regulating the temperature in livestock barns. We also saw important progress in the passage of two bills, C-244 and C-294, both relating to right to repair and interoperability, which is directly affecting our producers' efficiency and costs on the landscape. Here at home in Manitoba, CAP is proud to deliver on several outcomes that benefit producers across the province, including an additional $500,000 committed from the Sustainable Agricultural Manitoba program, and you would know as SAM, changes to the Disaster Financial Assistance Program focusing on the removal of the complex ownership requirement and an increase of the maximum yearly gross revenue and compensation rate to reflect modern farming operations, securing the inclusion of marked gasoline and diesel within the 10% permanent reduction in fuel tax, continued investment and prioritization of the Port of Churchill. I also continued with my appointment to the Manitoba Trade Representatives that went to Washington, D.C. and sit on the Trade Council as well. $100,000 in funding for Career Pathways program to develop an online portal that highlights career pathways in agriculture and works to solve labor shortages. Beyond provincial and federal wins, CAP has a concerted effort this year to ensure that Manitoba farmers' voices were heard in national and international forums. This included participation in the Trinational Agricultural Accord in Mexico and engagement in a multiple of cross-border events in the United States, including the MLC and SARL most recently in January. We also had multiple appearances before the House of Commons and Senate committees and appointments to key advisory bodies such as the Manitoba-U.S. Trade Council. I also was elected in the last year as first vice president of the Canadian Federation of Agriculture, which further strengthens Manitoba's voice at a national level. CAP also has a strong year for membership, reinforcing that our work is resonating with our producers. We continue to improve how we engage with members, including through farm policy roundtables, ongoing enhancements to our website. Trade certainly is on all of our minds and continues to be a major risk to Manitoba farmers. We know many of you heavily rely on export markets. We also are affected by tariffs, counter-tariffs, disruptions to our supply chain, reduced competitiveness, and this is all having a creation of instability to our farming operations. We continue to advocate for increased market access, ensuring that trade environment reflects the needs and priorities of our producers. That's why we released the Keystone Agricultural Producers Manitoba's Trade Action Plan, focusing on key areas which the province of Manitoba should prioritize when looking at trade and how agriculture is impacted by government policies and initiatives. We support a stable, rural-based trade and strategic relationships, all of which that continue to be essential for long-term success of the agricultural industry. On behalf of the board, I want to sincerely thank all of the CAP individuals, supporters, and group members for your combined support and engagement over the last year. Your involvement strengthens our organization, our ability to advocate effectively on your behalf, guided by our vision of the prosperous future of all Manitoba producers. As we look forward to 25-26, keeping your priorities top of mind for decision makers remains at the heart of everything that we do at CAP. Thank you again for being here today. I look forward to discussions ahead, and now let's move forward into today's program. So to start it off, we do have a video of greetings from our Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, the Honourable Heath MacDonald. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite Minister Ron Kostyshin to bring greetings on behalf of the Manitoba government.
Well, good morning, everyone, and it's truly a pleasure to be here this morning. Thanks, Jill, for great comments this morning, and thank you to Keystone Agriculture producers for what you do and the importance of agriculture in the province of Manitoba. You know, as a farmer for 25 years or 40 years of my life, you tend to recognize the importance of agriculture. And obviously in these challenging times economically and the unpredictability of things beyond our control, the importance of working with farm organizations such as CAP is probably more key than ever before as we work together as a team. And I'm referring to Team Canada, not so much hockey, but we love hockey too. But definitely Team Canada, we need to communicate. We need some good coaches, which I think we have. But the coaches are not only the person that stands behind the players. Everybody is part of the team, including the coach. And we are coached, whether it's the Keystone Agriculture producers or as the Minister of Agriculture or the government of Manitoba or the federal government. Those are the ones that we need to work together. And I think more importantly than ever before, communication is the best medication moving forward during these challenging times. And obviously, I have to honestly say, in my time being previous Ag Minister and being Ag Minister today, is more key than ever before that you see the importance of Reliance, that we work together, not because we are representing our commodity group or we're representing the farm organization. We are representing agriculture. And the importance of agriculture will continue because the number one priority, agriculture provides food. And without food in the world, and we know where the world population is today, it's our opportunity. Unfortunately, we're going through some challenging times, but there is a bright sunrise for us in the long run as we can maintain some challenges that we see presently. I do want to share with you that I've had the privilege to be down in the U.S. side on a number of occasions. And I want to assure you, Manitoba, Canada is still highly respected by a number of our trade delegates from the various parts of the states that they want to continue working with us. They see the optimistic benefit of a trade relationship that is 50, 60, 70 years in existence. And I think we just need to work together, be patient, because there will be a better time once we get through this ripples in the road, the potholes, if I may use a terminology, in the world when it comes to trade relations. So on behalf of the government of Manitoba and the Minister of Agriculture, it is truly my pleasure to be here to speak to the producers, the organizations, and CAP, Keystone Agriculture Producers, for what you do and what you do as far as being the media conduit of opportunities that we face in these times. As we all know, agriculture is truly the cornerstone of Manitoba's culture and economy. And as I indicated earlier, our government applauds the Keystone Agriculture Producers for supporting the Manitoba producers. And often we have farm organizations that represent farmers. But I want to personally thank the producers, the organizations, the business directly or indirectly that help out producers. Thank you for what you do. Sometimes we don't get recognized enough. And today I want to personally, on behalf of the government of Manitoba, acknowledge all of you who are involved in the agriculture industry, because the time is coming. We will have more rewards, but we just have to be patient. Although Mother Nature kind of creates challenges for us once in a while, but when we talk about trade opportunities, I had the pleasure last year to be sitting with 19 representatives from the European side of the world. And if anything was the most astonishing thing in my time as Ag Minister, I just felt the energy and the opportunity of sitting around the table with 19 representatives and talking about the challenges that the T word occasionally surfaces. If anything, in my personal opinion, we've maybe have become somewhat complacent because we've continued to have a working relationship, for the last 50, 60, 70 years. But the steroid behind all this is that we've become maybe complacent, but it also woke us up. And the reason I mentioned about the 19 European Union representatives I sat around, there was such a high level of interest that I think we have an opportunity in Manitoba, in Canada, agriculture, baseline agriculture. We have alternative markets that we probably have not really dabbled into deep enough, but the timing is right. Opportunity does exist. And the number one thing, we need to remain positive, because that is what we have to do during maybe some economic challenging times. So along with you, as far as the Keystone Agriculture Producers, we are committed to work with farmers and agriculture as a strong organization. We need strong, diverse markets and ability to move our products efficiently. And how convenient when we talk about the opportunity of Port of Churchill. In 2024, Manitoba agriculture and agri-food products exports totaled $9.28 billion, roughly 45% of the province's total international exports. I do recognize the concerns about the U.S. market access, but I'm working to protect a state-level relationship. And as I indicated earlier, I had the pleasure to be in Iowa. I had been in New Orleans and realized there's a lot we have in common. And I'm going to put a plug in for Manitoba Pork here. When you can export 2.5 million weanlings on an annual basis to the state of Iowa, and they want to continue that trade relationship. That, to me, is an indication of how a strong working relationship we have. We can talk about the beef sector. All I can say is I wish I had my cows and calves right about now, but it's been a long time coming for the beef industry, and I'm happy to see that happen. The only thing we need now is young generational producers that want to grow our cow herd, and it seems to be a bit of a struggle, but hopefully that will come into fruition in a long one. My department is working closely with the federal government to strengthen our global marketplaces, positions throughout upcoming review in March of Canada, US, and Mexico Free Trade Agreement, CUSMA. And I guess stay tuned for that discussion. It is good news that Canada's trade negotiation with China recently led to some positive outcomes for Canadian canola, peas, and other exports. And hopefully that will continue on the positive side. Manitoba is committed to work alongside our federal colleagues and strengthen our global markets in China and beyond. We also are building a new relationship with the government and recently with Hong Kong as a new trade relationship that we hope will open up new markets and opportunities for Manitoba. Our department recently sent a delegation to Pakistan to rebuild a relationship and explore pathways to grow that canola market, which is now reopened to Canada. I think we all can relate to the fact that it was absentee for a number of years with Pakistan. We've just recently had a negotiated opportunity for them, and that provides a positive towards our canola markets and other grain sectors. We need a strong trade corridors network to move our agriculture goods, and such as that by supporting an investment in Port of Churchill. Examples such as last year, as I said earlier, when we mentioned with the European Union individuals, they were very pleased to hear the positivity of the Port of Churchill becoming the logistic opportunity of movement of cargo today and into the future. In addition to trade, Manitoba producers are facing ongoing climate challenges, which as a longtime farmer, as my dad would always say, well, son, next year will be better. So sometimes Mother Nature made it challenging for all of us, but there's always next year. And like I said earlier, I applaud our farmers for their hard work and resources in managing, including ensuring operations and efficiencies to protect our valuable water resources. Today, we all know that innovation is changing in how we farm, and the systems and tools must work together in the interoperational being critical to their success. And I think, as Jill had indicated, the right to repair is an interesting subject, and into the future, we'll continue to work on a positive on that one. Manitoba is working with a longtime partner, the Prairie Agriculture Machinery Institute, and building a new relationship with the Association of Equipment of Manufacturers to explore creating Manitoba-based hub to advance cutting-edge technology. And I think one example would be, who in the heck ever thought drones would ever become a valuable tool in agriculture? And maybe that's just a molecule of how modern technology continues to grow, and the opportunity of efficiency and environmental opportunities of cost saving for producers through modernization of technology. Our farm data is a valuable operations and supports measuring the sustainability of today's farms. I want to make mention in closing that early discussions are underway around the next policy framework, and we want to work together to map out our future for the industry, including some issues I've described. But in closing, I look forward to engaging with CAP and your membership to help put the right program in place. So let's work together. Let's work together as Team Canada for the betterment of agriculture, for the population of Canada. Let's work together in between provinces as well. Interprovincial trading needs to be relax, and opportunity for the betterment of their economy. So, in closing, it is truly my pleasure to be standing here at the podium talking to a number of delegates in attendance. And let's put our forces together for a positive outcome for agriculture, the economy in Manitoba, and the economy in Canada. Timing is right, opportunities are there. Let's work together to make it all better for all of us in attendance. So thank you for your patience and understanding. It's my pleasure to be here today on behalf of the government of Manitoba.
It's now my pleasure to invite Brodie Berrigan to the stage from Ontario. He's the Senior Director of Government Relations and Farm Policy at Canadian Federation of Agriculture.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So, as Jill said, my name is Brodie Berrigan. I'm the Senior Director of Government Relations and Farm Policy with the Canadian Federation of Agriculture. CAP, of course, is a very valued member of the CFA, and so I'm here to give you an update on some of the things that we've been up to over the past year, and also talk a little bit about some of our priorities for the coming year as well, because I think there's a lot of stuff that has already been referred to this morning, the next policy framework, some trade, that I think is really exciting in a lot of ways and a good opportunity for the agriculture sector. Okay, so first I just wanted to share with you some staff updates at the Canadian Federation. So Maria Al-Kayed, she was our Manager of Environmental Sustainability and Regulatory Affairs, is just recently gone off on mat leave. So we've replaced her with Matt Henderson. Up here, you can see him on the screen. He's our Manager of Farm Policy. We've broadened out the scope of this position to be more of a general kind of manager of policy, to reflect the shift in priorities at the federal level, whereas we used to see everything, an all-consuming government focused on environment and sustainability. Now we have a broader set of priorities, so we're adapting at our operational level to meet that. We also have Aaron Brisson, who's just recently joined us as a new executive assistant. Aaron is also replacing someone who has just gone off on mat leave, who was replacing someone who went off on mat leave. So we've clearly got something going on in Ottawa. I can assure you that I am not pregnant. We're also just wanted to have a quick note to say that we are growing, and we're very grateful for that new support. So we have added some new members, the Canadian Pork Council, which we're very excited about, the Canadian Honey Council, which we're also very excited about. We've also added some new corporate executives and corporate leaders, and signed an MOU with the National Circle for Indigenous Agri-Food. So some important developments, I think, at the staff and operational level, and the CFA family is getting bigger, which is great. I'd also like to note some of the key policy achievements over the past year. It is unfortunate, but it's true that we've had to play a bit more defense, I would say, on a number of different initiatives, including the removal, as Jill mentioned previously, of the consumer carbon tax, which was perhaps one of the most significant and substantial wins for the sector across Canada. We were also very pleased to see that agriculture was exempted from some recent restrictions to the temporary foreign worker program. There's still a lot of work ahead in this area, especially since the government is in the process of consulting on a new agriculture and fish processing stream, but we're very much attuned to those discussions and we'll keep you updated on how they progress. We also successfully pushed back quite hard on the proposed changes to the capital gains inclusion rate, which would have made it a lot harder to support effective farm succession in Canada. Minister Kostyshin, of course, referenced that as an important area that we need to be focused on. These proposed changes have been repealed. But at the same time, we did have some progress on areas where we have been active. So a little bit of offense on a couple of issues. One is we saw the culmination of years of effort to implement the Grocery Code of Conduct, and we urge our members to sign up to their newsletter and explore some potential membership in the code. We were also very pleased to see ministers agree just this past summer on important changes to the Agri-Stability Program for the 2025 program year. Those changes, as I'm sure you're all very well aware, include increasing the compensation rate and doubling the current payment cap from 3 to 6 million. So we were very excited and happy to see that. Of course, there's a lot more to discuss on the next policy framework on the risk management side, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. So that was just a very quick snapshot looking backwards, but I do want to focus the bulk of my time on the year ahead, because there's a lot of big challenges before us, but also some significant opportunities that I think are worth raising and discussing here today. The first one is increasing trade and market diversification. So trade and market diversification are very, very key issues that we are going to be focused on at the federal level in 2026. There were some big milestones coming up this year, of course. The formal CUSMA review in July. We managed to accomplish something this year that I haven't seen since I started with the CFA a few years ago. We secured just under 100 signatures on a joint industry letter to the Prime Minister and Cabinet outlining our collective support in the agriculture sector for the CUSMA agreement. No small feat, very significant, I think. And this letter echoed a very similar letter that was drafted and presented to the U.S. Trade Representative in the U.S. Earlier in the fall, which sends basically a very clear signal to governments on both sides of the border how important this agreement is and how united the agriculture industry is in supporting our free trade agreement. We've also been in discussions with our counterparts in the Mexican farm group, CNA, who are looking at options to produce a similar sort of letter from Mexico. So you've got all three countries with their industry lining up saying the same thing, which is really good. We plan on building on that support by strengthening our engagement with our farm group counterparts in the US and Mexico, as I just said. We just got back, Keith Curry, our president, Stephanie Levasseur, our second vice president, myself, and a small delegation from the CFA, just got back from Anaheim, California a couple years ago. It was very nice in Anaheim, I have to say. It was a little bit different than in Ontario and here in Winnipeg. For the American Farm Bureau Federation Convention. And I had three key takeaways that I wanted to share with you here today based on that experience and what we heard when we were down south. The first is the president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, Zippy Duvall, in his opening address to the delegation of American farmers, and it's like 1,000 people, it is a huge delegation, said right off the bat that the American Farm Bureau supports trade and not tariffs. And so I think that's a very, very strong and compelling message, and it sends a very clear signal, I think, to us in Canada and Canadian farmers and Canadian industry, just how aligned we are with our US counterparts, as I said earlier, and how much of an ally the US American Farm Bureau Federation will be in the lead up to the 2026 CUSMA review. The second key takeaway for me was this theme of food affordability. So we're talking about it here in Canada as well, but in the United States, it's playing a very, very important role because it represents a very significant vulnerability for the current US administration. They feel very exposed on this issue, and it will, all accounts are, likely lead to, of course we don't know what will happen, to the Republican Party losing their support and the majority in the House of Representatives, which will be a significant shift, I think, in the dynamics in US politics. So food affordability has become a predominant overarching theme in US politics. We're seeing that also emerge increasingly in Canada. We would have all seen Prime Minister Carney's food affordability announcement about a week or so ago. And so I think there's a real opportunity here for the agriculture sector to take advantage of this window of opportunity to promote the importance of the agriculture sector in Canada supporting those food affordability objectives. The third issue that really jumped out for me in Anaheim was this close link between food security and national security. So the US Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, said in her remarks to the delegation that countries that cannot feed themselves are less secure. And so they've really have this sense that there needs to be more of a focus on domestic food security as national security. When we talk to our American Farm Bureau Federation colleagues about what are the implications of that, we make it very, very clear to them, and thankfully I think they hear us and they understand that the Americans cannot do that in isolation. The most clear and obvious example, there are many, but the most clear and obvious one is Canadian fertilizer. The potash that we send down to the United States, I think about 80% of potash that American farmers use comes from Canada. And Zippy Duval, we asked him that question. I asked him that question when we met with him. Do American farmers and elected officials understand just how important that integration is in North America to achieve those food security and therefore national security objectives? And they seem to think that it is important. That's part of the reason why the US administration pulled back to a certain extent on tariffs that they had put on fertilizer initially. So there is, again, an opportunity in that discussion and in that policy window, I think, to advance our interests here in Canada. At the same time, it's becoming increasingly clear, so shifting a little bit, that we do need to level up our value-added game and focus on expanding domestic processing capacity. This will create value and open up markets at home, which will diversify, not just from the US, but from other countries, and also create new opportunities and expand markets internationally. So I think we're already starting to see a hint of this in the food affordability announcement the other week from Prime Minister Carney. They did talk about the immediate expensing for greenhouse buildings. And in the budget, they had talked about an immediate expensing for manufacturing of processing machinery and equipment. We'd like to see that expanded to other sectors of the Canadian economy that touch on agriculture. But I think we are going to see, and we need to see, increased investment in value-added processing and agri-food manufacturing in Canada. So this will be a big focus of our attention over the course of the year. And finally, we plan to build on the work that we launched last year. Jill mentioned this as well in her remarks, and really try to ramp up the B2B, the business-to-business engagement between countries where we already have a strong footing. So Mexico is a good example. Jill was with us when we were down in Mexico City. We worked with the Mexican farm groups and a number of Mexican industry associations and Canadian industry associations sat around a big table, and we had a really good conversation about what some of those barriers are to expanding market and trade between Canada and Mexico. So we've established this new agribusiness forum. We have an action plan. We're going to continue to work over that in the course of the year, and also look for other opportunities with other countries where we can expand some of those markets and trade. The second strategic priority for the Canadian Federation of Agriculture over the course of the year, we want to continue to play a leadership role in bringing the sector together to speak with one voice. You could argue, really, that initiative started off here in Winnipeg last summer when we were here for our FPT meetings. In July, the CFA led in drafting a joint industry letter to the Prime Minister and Cabinet, along with 30 other industry associations, national industry associations, outlining our collective priorities for the new elected Carney administration, the new government. The goal there was really to raise the profile of Canadian agriculture as a strategic driver of growth in the Canadian economy. And we outlined those 4 priorities, which are on this slide. So creating a focused plan for economic growth in agriculture to support food security, ensuring regulations support a growth agenda, prioritizing transportation and trade infrastructure, modernizing risk management tools. That effort created a lot of goodwill across the sector. Momentum that we plan to carry forward this year as we drill down on each of those 4 areas to articulate joint priorities. So we're trying to bring people together, agree to where we need to focus our attention, and speak increasingly with one voice to our elected officials, I think it will make it easier for them to then act on specific areas when you have that kind of unanimity and consensus across the agriculture sector. So plan to drill down on the regulatory priorities, infrastructure, and then the second last slide here is the priority that we're focused on right now, which is ensuring that risk management programs are responsive to the current risk climate. So we've been very focused on preparing for the FPT meeting in Halifax that's going to be coming up this summer in July. Hope to see some of you there. That would be great. We anticipate that the government will agree to a Halifax statement, similar to the Guelph statement that happened for the last policy framework discussions. This will outline a vision and priorities for the next 5-year agreement. So internally within the CFA, we've been getting organized. We set up a subcommittee. We've been meeting we've gotten input from members across the country to try and reach some ideas on where we want to focus our energy, where our recommendations are going to be for the next policy framework. It's not fully baked. Our key priorities are coalescing around the themes of competitiveness, innovation, and resilience. Some of the principles that we've really articulated through those discussions are increased choice for farmers and flexibility, more outcome-based performance measurement, transparency in reporting and administrative and regulatory efficiency. Now, again, these conversations are still happening. I'm just giving you a little bit of a flavor of the direction that they're going, and we'll be excited to share a little bit more about that. Once we've confirmed our internal support, we'll present it to our board of directors at the end of the month, and then we'll continue to have those discussions over the course of the year and the lead up to the meetings in Halifax. And there's a bit of sort of a critical path, I guess you could put on the slide here, that you can sort of see where we see these discussions evolving. One point I did want to make on this, though, is it's not going to be enough for the CFA and our members to be convincing the Government of Canada what it is that we need to be doing for the next policy framework. We will need organizations like CAP and all of the provincial general farm organizations to carry those same messages and recommendations to their provincial government. It is an FPT framework. Minister Kostyshin, I'm sure he will want to hear from you on what you think those priorities are going to need to be for the next policy framework. And again, it goes back to that theme of speaking with one voice, consensus where possible. It will make it easier for governments to adopt recommendations, and it will make it much more effective, I think, from an advocacy perspective. So really look forward to your support and participation in that over the course of the year. And then finally, I just wanted to land on this slide. Not really an update on the stuff that we're doing at the CFA, but it's sort of timely. I think it's relevant. Opportunity or risk. I really wanted to end this presentation with something that I know has been generating a lot of discussion and debate. The PM's speech in Davos just recently at the World Economic Forum, it did create a lot of buzz, and we have been reflecting on what it could mean for the CFA and the Canadian agriculture sector. Specifically, that comment around countries must develop strategic autonomy in food. What does that mean? We're not sure exactly what that means, but we do have a bit of an opportunity here. There's no doubt that his remarks generated a reaction from the U.S. administration. Not hard to do that, I should say, which creates its own sort of risks. But I believe it also sent a very strong signal that Canada needs to invest in the agriculture sector. This has the potential to be a huge opportunity for all of us, but we need to be prepared as a sector or we'll risk missing out on that opportunity. So that's why we're focused on the areas that I talked about earlier: value-added processing and market diversification, uniting the sector so we can speak with one clear voice, ensuring the next 5-year policy framework is calibrated to a new set of risks and has the tools, the right tools, in the toolbox to support our strategic priorities for the next 5 years. Your president, Jill, is playing a very key role, not just as our first vice president at the CFA, but also as chair of our CFA policy committee. So we really want to thank you, Jill, for all of the work that you've been doing to support this work, and all of you at CAP for your support. we're very excited to continue to work on these priorities with you over the course of the year. And that's really all I had to say today. I'm not sure if we're doing questions or if we're just ending it there, but I'm happy to chat with anybody after or on the margins of the event today if anybody wants to pick up on any of these themes. Thank you.
Thanks, Brody. And like you mentioned, he will be around for the rest of the day if there's any questions. I'm sure top of mind on what's happening in Ottawa as well. So thank you for coming. Next, I'd like to call Anna Marie Smith from Farm Credit Canada and to bring some comments on updates there. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me and inviting me to your AGM today to say a few words on behalf of FCC. As mentioned in the introductions, my name's Anna Marie Smith, and I'm a Senior District Director at Farm Credit Canada. So first of all, I just want to stress how proud FCC is to support and partner with CAP, which provides a unified voice for Manitoba farmers and has influenced many comprehensive policies that's not only benefited Manitoba producers, but also those across Canada, as was mentioned earlier in a few of the speeches today. You all play an incredible role in supporting your communities and the entire ag and food industry. Primary agriculture and food producers remain a priority at FCC, and we are proud to be 100% invested in agriculture and food. We work alongside farmers, ranchers, producers, manufacturers to provide financing, business support, and tools to help operations grow and succeed. The next generation of farmers brings with them endless possibilities for the future of this industry. So supporting the growth and success of the next generation is essential. And CAP does amazing work with the Manitoba young farmers, and we share in the passion for making Canadian agriculture better and recognizing the importance of mentoring the young producers. We got lots in the room today from the University of Manitoba, so it's really great to see them all here today. So while I have your attention, I just want to highlight just a few of the updates from FCC that might be useful to your operations, and especially for the young farmers in the room. We have a newly enhanced transition loan, which helps farmers through ownership changes with flexibility and stability. This product is designed to transition from one generation to the next with benefits to both the buyer and the seller, and it could be inside the family or outside the family. We also offer transition services where we can give you access to an advisor at no cost to just help get that conversation started about the future of your operation and how you want to pass that down. We also have a new and exciting tool called Root AI, and it's our free virtual farm assistant that's on our website. It doesn't require a login, but you can text it questions, upload a picture to it, and it gives you back a straightforward answer when you're either out in the field or maybe in your office doing some strategy planning. It's designed to help you solve problems and make day-to-day decisions a little easier to improve your productivity. We also have programs designed specifically to support young producers through flexible financing, knowledge resources, and financial development courses and training options. And you don't need to be an FCC customer to access these as well. We also recognize the importance of sustainability and being a responsible lender, ensuring that we support our customers in adapting sustainable practices that make sense for their operations. FCC offers sustainability incentive programs for beef, grains and oilseeds, potatoes, dairy producers, fertilizers, as well as marginal areas. And there's more to come. We want to support and reward our customers for doing what's right for themselves and for the environment. So as I wrap up, I just want to remind everyone that no matter the size of your operation, the commodity that you're in, or the stage of your growth, FCC is here to support you. From lending solutions to knowledge to being a strong partner, we're here to focus on helping you succeed today and into the future. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of the day.
to call our own director or general manager of CAP, Colin Hornby, to the stage to give an update.
Morning, everybody. I just want to start by first thanking our board, farmer members, commodity groups, our new associate members and sponsors for all their support for today and throughout the year. We really appreciate that, as well as the students for being here. It's good to see all the students we have here. So if we give a quick round of applause for everybody there I just mentioned, that would be great. And then, of course, as well for our staff team, Emily, Olivia, Shona, Morag, Leisha, Marissa. Did I get everybody? Neil, there he is. Yeah, can't forget Neil. So that's our team there. We have two new faces, as I mentioned. Leisha and Marissa are two new faces on the team. So you'll see them around, and we're really happy to have added them to the team this past year. So that was really great. So my thought today was to just go through the annual report, which we have as a website. You'll see it's now live on our webpage, cap2025annualreport.ca. I won't go through every part of it, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. So if we can go to the main page there, I'll go through that. And if you look as well in your AGM package, you'll have a condensed version of the annual report. You can scan the QR code on there and it'll pull up the website. So if we could just wait a minute here. While I'm waiting, something to highlight, we've talked a lot over the past year about developing some more transparency and accountability around resolutions and some of the work as we get resolutions up through the districts over the past few years. So we have the new resolution tracker. You can check it out on our website. We're currently populating it, but right now we have the past few years on there, so you can see if there's a resolution that came forward. You can go through by year and look at any updates on that. We'll update that as work continues on those. So this is something that I know, and I spoke to a few of our members at our district meetings throughout the year. There was significant interest in this, so that's something we're really happy to have. So if you see here on the report, if you scroll down a bit, just kind of the main page there, some messages from Jill and myself. Don't put that up for too long. I shouldn't look at my face twice. Once is enough. And if you keep going down, what guides our work, you'll see those four main areas around advocacy, engagement and outreach, regulatory modernization, and governance and funding. This comes from our strategic plan that was developed by the board a couple years ago, and really guides that work to keep the farmer perspective at the forefront of everything we do. So if you want to go to the menu there and go to the first section under advocacy, and our people, that's just going to list all your board directors as well. So under advocacy, just some of the highlights as we scroll through this section. So four big areas we would bucket some of the successes into around trade leadership, influence to government, international engagement, and delivering on results for producers. So Jill talked about a few of these things. One thing I want to highlight around results for producers, those DFA changes were really important because those hadn't been updated in a while. So we worked with Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure on that. The inclusion of for the fuel tax reduction, making that reduction permanent of 10%. So thank you, Minister Kostitian, for making sure that that was there. And some lending increases for MASC. There's new service centers open in Shoal Lake and Verdun. And of course, the federal 244 and C294 around interoperability, right to repair, and the Port of Churchill funding. So if we go down to the next, keep scrolling down there, looking at our policy process. So obviously maintaining those resolutions is a really important thing for us. We want to know what's going on in the districts. I'm looking at Reg Marginet over here, and we've talked a lot about elk in the past, and the reason we know is resolutions come up through districts. So being able to know how that impact is locally is really important for us. In addition to that, we did adopt policy principles at the board. So these are the 10 principles that we have where we sort of bucket all the policy. They're sort of the main areas, and anything that falls into those principles, it allows us to work on those in a more nimble and a quick way so we can be responsive for our members. And this is a model of development that started with my predecessor was here, so shout out to Brenna if you're in the room. Started that working with the board to bring something together. So this, and we just wanted to go through the process on the website as well. So if we go to the next section. And the resolution tracker I mentioned. So that's now live on the website again, so you can check that out. If we go back to the menu at the top, and looking at engagement and outreach, some of those highlights we want to look at here. If we move down on the page as it loads, we did host those summer meetings. So Brody mentioned having the summer meetings here. That was really important for us to be able to showcase Manitoba. We did some tours at Emily at Innovation Farms, and we also went to Princess Auto and had some really good engagement, and Glenlee Research Station. That was a really good opportunity to highlight that partnership between academia, industry, government. And I know there was some groups from other provinces who really thought that was a good model. So there's probably some asks in other provinces to look at similar setups. So that's really good to have. As I mentioned, we brought on Alicia on our team to replace my old job, and she's doing much better than I ever did, so that's good. And Neil's been doing a really great job on the national front, leading on bringing together a policy group, looking at best practices and policy ideas from across the country. So that's been a really positive thing for us to have and to learn and bounce ideas off of each other. So kudos to Neil on that. And then, of course, you would have seen if you popped by our booth at Ag Days, we spent some resources on getting some nicer materials for the trade show, some more interactive stuff to engage with youth. So that was really important for us. And then the last things on this is just around the member benefit portal and advocacy hub, really making sure we sharpen those up and make sure that we're able to update benefits as they change and be responsive to making the member experience better when it comes to accessing that. Additionally, we did have some growth areas in social media and our reach, so that we saw a 27% increase in our Cap Alert audience, so that was really positive, as well as some social media. So we've really made a concerted effort in putting together a strategy around how do we have a larger reach. So that was really important for us. And then, of course, with the magazine, if you scroll down, you'll see Manitoba Farmer's Voice as we scroll down, making sure that we're doing different member features, focusing on making sure that it's about the farmer, and that we give our commodity groups the opportunity to showcase some of their work in the research space and other things that they're doing. So really wanting to make sure that we can help elevate some of the good stories we have in Manitoba. If you want to keep going down, talking about advisory council, continuing to do those and trying to find speakers that provide value to our members. We can go to the next section on here. And if we scroll up there, thanks, fellas. So under regulatory modernization, under more, if we go to regulatory modernization, keep moving down, just looking at some of the work around farm safety, participating in some of those national, on the CASA Ag Safety Leader meetings. I know that Morag's always on those meetings, so appreciate her bringing Manitoba perspective there with CASA. Looking at continuing to grow the resources on the website, and then participating in some road safety issues around road debris and things of that nature, and creating resources in the pork sector. It's some pork specific stuff, so there's a few things on there you'll be able to see. And of course, labor as well. We're happy to have Jen here from Canadian Ag Human Resource Council. She's going to talk a bit about some opportunities for farms, programs you can take advantage of. But looking at how do we solve some of those labor challenges that continue to persist. They're not unique to agriculture necessarily. We do see labor challenges across the economy, but in agriculture specifically, we're focusing on growing those seats in the vet space. So growing seats at the college at the Western College of Vet Medicine, which is Manitoba's vet school. It just happens to be in Saskatchewan. So thank you to the province for renewing that investment, and the $100,000 we've got for career pathways. So we have a few folks around the table for that discussion, developing a resource for directing people into agriculture as a career, making sure that they know how their skills can fit. In agriculture, there's a job for everybody. You just got to find the right one. So really trying to do that. On the sustainability front, we've seen an increased uptake in the EFP. That number is probably going to be have a zero after it next year, if not more, because with the changes to Agri-Invest, as many of you I'm sure are aware, or your accountants are aware, the Agri-Invest, if you're over $1 million in net sales, you're going to need that Agri-Invest, or the environmental farm plan if you're in Manitoba. So, or any environmental risk assessment, the EFP happens to be one. So we've seen a significant increase in demand for that. We've issued many EFP certificates, so large uptake in that. We've also been able to join the soil strategy on the National Soil Conservation Council of Canada. That sounds right. So bring Manitoba's perspective to that group. And if we go to and the GHG calculator, of course, is on there. If we want to go to the next section, I believe it's the last one. governance and funding, and the statements are on there as well, but the auditors will present the finances to you after we take a break. So looking at some of the governance changes, we had those bylaw changes approved here last meeting. So looking at streamlining governance best practices, electing the executive through the board, through the representatives that the members have elected, and some of those policy principles I talked about as well. And if we move down a little bit there, looking at sort of some of the financial oversight and transparency. So when Marissa joined the team, we did a fulsome review of many of the things we were doing, some of our accounting practices, financial management, things of that nature, expenditures, all of our contribution agreements, a whole full-scale review of everything, and we were able to make some improvements there. So really trying to also, when we look at our financials, how we're reporting back to the board, giving more information, and making it as up-to-date as possible. Last thing I'll talk about is around long-term sustainability. We did add that associate member category through those bylaw changes last year. So we've had, some of them are in the room here. I know I saw AGCO was in the room, Eric was here, and there's a few other people. So thanks to those groups, you'll see them all listed on our website. So this is just another opportunity to have other individuals across the agriculture ecosystem participate, demonstrate their interest in supporting agriculture, and as well it allows us to tap into some of their resources and perspectives that will help shape some of the work we do. And then the last thing, I did say the last thing, but I'll say it again, sorry. The membership software that we will have up and running, our plan is to develop that throughout the year. We've secured a contractor for that. We had a few delays, but we're back on track. And we're going to streamline the process both internally as well as creating a portal for members to go on and see deductions and things of that nature. So something we're really looking forward to, and I know it's going to make Shona very happy. It's going to be make her life a lot better. So other than that, I encourage everybody to take a look at the website and just want to, again, thank all the partners and, prioritizing collaboration, again, as we move forward. Working with other groups is really important to us, both in agriculture and outside of agriculture, because we look at other industries where there are similar issues. That consumer carbon tax was one where we were able to work with other industries. So again, it's really important that we find those, I don't want to say synergies, that's a horrible corporate word, but there's those areas of alignment that we have with other industries. So again, we're more successful when we work together with other farm groups and other groups and individuals who are in the room today. So again, thanks everybody for coming, and with that, I'll pass it back to Jill.
Right, thanks so much for having me. Hi everyone, my name is Jen Wright, and I'm the Executive Director with the Canadian Agriculture Human Resource Council. See here, turn it around, that helps. Oh. Great, so as Jill mentioned, I'm gonna walk through some of our products and services that we have and give you a little bit of a highlight of some of the work that we do. By way of a land acknowledgement, there was one already this morning to start things off, but CARC is a national organization and we work across the lands of Canada. Our office is, our head office, I guess, as we have staff across Canada, but our head office is on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. So for those of you that might not be familiar with CARC, we're, as I said, a national nonprofit organization, and we work with industry across Canada to understand our agriculture workforce needs a little bit better, to help support attraction, retention, skills training, that kind of thing. We're very, very pleased to have CAP as one of our member organizations and to have Colin on our board. It brings, although we're working nationally, it's very similar to any other national organization where we need to hear from the grassroots and the ground up of what's happening across Canada. So we're also very pleased to be working with CAP on the Career Pathways project. So a lot of our work that we do, as I said, is really focused on that labor market information, kind of getting a good understanding of what the workforce looks like now and looking forward. So for those of you that might be, finding it hard sometimes to find staff, or maybe you don't have that many staff, but you only have one or two hired hands, whatever it might be. We put that information to numbers and really try to quantify some of that. And then, as I said, we support producers in your HR practices and skill development and training. We also, in partnership with the Canadian Federation of Agriculture and Food and Beverage Canada, lead the National Workforce Strategic Plan for agriculture and food and beverage manufacturing. Again, really just trying to bring people and organizations across Canada together to talk about some of the issues that we're facing with the workforce shortages. We know that they exist. I'll share some data, but how do we work together to ensure that we're building off what each other's doing, collaborating, and ensuring that going forward, our industry is really thriving, not only because it's great industry, but because we have the people behind it to drive that growth and economic prosperity. So I mentioned that we do a lot of labor market research. This gives you a snapshot of what we were seeing early 2020s on the Manitoba agriculture workforce. This data is primarily focused on primary production. We're very pleased that we've just secured, or just will be starting to do some more work around the labor market data. And so we will be getting this to be more real-time and more fresh so that we can have data kind of on an ongoing basis. If anything's, if we learned anything from the pandemic and from 2020, nothing is really the same. So when we look back at data that might be 3 or 4 years old, it becomes more challenging for us to know exactly where we're at today, especially with all the shifting tides of tariffs and pandemics and natural disasters and things like that. So we are really looking forward to getting this data not only more real-time, but also more detailed at the provincial level and hopefully the regional level, as well as building out our skills framework to look at where we're at with automation technology and the skills that we need now into the future. But with that said, this gives you a snapshot of what the workforce looks like here. And, you know, really for us, we see that 40% of agriculture employers in Manitoba couldn't hire everyone they needed. That was in 2022. We can see with the data that that probably hasn't improved a whole lot. When we look forward as well, we look at things like retirements and growth of the industry and things like that. We do anticipate that there'll still be a growing labor gap in the province. And again, we'll get a better picture of what that looks like as we update our data. But we do know the average age of the farmer is about 58, so we're not getting any younger. And we know that they're shifting things with rural populations and attracting people into the industry. We also know, as we see announcements being made and investments in various aspects of the economy across Canada that are all very important and strategic, absolutely. But we know that, you know, with growth in defense spending and construction, that, you know, with agriculture workforce, we will have to continue to really be out there front and center and talking about what our industry has to offer so that we are attracting and retaining enough workers and producers across the industry across Canada. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about one of our foundational tools that we have for producers. It's our Agri-HR Toolkit. It's an online resource that kind of provides you everything you need to know and everything that you need as far as documents and that kind of thing for HR management on the farm. And, you know, sometimes we often hear, well, we're just a family farm. We don't really have employees. Every farm needs to have HR practices, even if it's, you know, yourself and your partner or yourself and, you know, your kids on the farm. You need to have that HR framework in place. It reduces your risk. It makes sure everybody knows what they're doing. It reduces conflict between family members or between staff. And it really helps with succession planning when you get to that point as well, because you already have that business framework and that HR framework to set the path going forward. So these are some of the biggest things that we've heard through our surveys about what your biggest HR challenge is. You know, it could be anything from recruiting to retention, complying with those regulations, training, and managing employee performance. So the HR Toolkit has everything you need in that perspective. And so, you know, lots of times we hear HR management and what is that, and, you know, let's go to HR if we have an issue, those kind of things. But really, it's making sure you have the right people in place. So you can have the best plan, the best strategic plan, the best operational plan, you know your inputs are going to be for the season. But how's that going to happen? None of that happens without the people. And making sure you have the right people with the right skills will really impact your bottom line in a positive way. And the other flip side of that is, if you don't have the right people or enough of the people or the right skills, you're not going to see that growth on the bottom line that you really want to see. So taking some time to invest and plan on the HR side of things just has a ripple effect to prosperity across your operation. So the HR toolkit itself, it has everything you need, as I said, for agriculture. Everything is designed specific for, this toolkit's designed mostly for primary production. We are going to be developing an agribusiness one as well, but all the examples, all of the legislation, all the requirements, that type of thing are all specific to running a farm operation. We also are very pleased that we have a curriculum for it as well, and post-secondary institutions use our curriculum and then the toolkit as their textbook. So I'm happy to see the University of Manitoba students here. You might be taking HR as part of your program. You might be using this HR toolkit. So I'm around for everybody if you need want any questions or demos or things like that at lunch. But the students, you know, they're getting that training right before they even hit the sector, which is great. We will be updating this as well. It's fairly intuitive, as you'll see, but over the next 5 years, or well, this coming year especially, we will be making it more interactive, making it easier to get exactly what you need for your farm as well. So, has anyone ever used the HR toolkit? Show of hands of who's used the toolkit in the room. Few folks, yeah, lots of students, which is great. So we want to increase that usability, and building awareness that it's there helps. Also, as CAP members, CAP is a partner of ours as well as a member organization of ours. So you get a discount, it's a 50% discount to an annual subscription, as well as a discount on our training, our HR training, and our tools and resources there as well. So basically, this is what it looks like when you log into the toolkit. It's organized by all your main topics that you might want to be looking at, right from recruitment, succession planning, workforce wellness. There's a section on managing foreign workers. As I said, everything you need around the HR side. And then you just click on one of those icons, and it goes into that particular topic that you're looking for. And as you can see in this example, it's worker performance. So you have all the templates you need to manage your performance management, to set up plans and training plans and that type of thing for your workers. You click on the link, you'll see the documents. You can download them, they're Word documents, and you just make them your own for your organization. As you go through this as well, if there's certain areas of the toolkit that you're most interested in, you can pin it so that when you go into my tools, it'll go directly to where you were the last time you were in. So again, just gives you a bit more example of the level of detail that is in the tool. It provides everything you need to know, as I've said, around that topic. So managing performance gives you tips and tricks, a checklist, templates to use when you're walking through performance management. This could be said for your recruitment process, job descriptions, HR planning, and any of those topics will give you this level of detail. That gives you an idea as well of the resources that are there. So there's action plans, there's case studies, checklists, guides, worksheets, everything, again, that you need. As I've said, it's all designed specifically for on-the-farm resource management. If you want to download something, again, very straightforward. When you're in the toolkit, you just click on download, you get your Word document, and then you can use that document to make it your own for your own operation. There's an employee handbook with all the HR policies that you need as well. Again, super simple to download it, make it your own, put your logo on it, change up the policies for vacation or whatever that you might want to have in your operation. How to register is easy as well. It is the HR toolkit. You go to that link, you register. As a CAP member, as I said, you have the 50%, your partner, so you have that 50% off. CAP would have a code to share with you so that you can ensure to get that discount as well. And then once you pay, I think for the partners, it's around $150 for the year, and you have access to it for the whole year and everything that's in the toolkit. So this just walks you through on how to create that account. Again, very straightforward. Don't forget to put your code in the bottom there so you have that discount. And then it activates and it's good for the year. As I mentioned, you can also pin your things so that you can have my items, and you can see that once you're in the toolkit as well. So I'll just walk through some of the main resources that we see used quite a bit. The first one is job descriptions, and again, especially if you have a family farm where you're working with your, kids, your brothers, your sisters, your partner, you kind of may think, well, why do I even need job descriptions? Again, it really helps give that formalization of who's doing what on the farm, helps reduce conflict because there's some structure to responsibilities and who's making decisions and whose role it is or responsibility to do certain things. Makes your hiring easier when you do go out to hire because you have something that you've given some thought to what you're looking to hire for. And it helps with training and succession planning. If you hire someone new, for example, that might be an entry-level employee, you can look at how you can develop them and build your training plan for them to grow from a real entry-level person to take on more responsibility as they work with you over a couple of years. And then it reduces your risk as well. So, it's a big part of ensuring that you have good HR practices, you're reducing your risk, and you're meeting your HR legislation requirements as well. So if you're looking in the toolkit, like I said, you get everything from the job description template. We have a number of just job descriptions for, over 70 jobs on the farm by commodity as well and by different levels. So you can go in and find all of that. You have a template in how to build the job description for your operation. And then you also have guides on how to structure your interview process when you do start to hire. I mentioned the employee handbook as well. It's another really great resource. Having your policies in a handbook is essential, really, to ensuring that your employees know the expectations of hours of work, sick leave, vacation, all that kind of thing. And it really gives you something where you can point to the policies and say, yep, this is our policies, this is how we operate, this is, so they also know that everybody's getting the same treatment. And again, it really helps with that risk of having a claim that, an employee was unfairly treated or something like that. You have your policies to lean back on. So again, you can download this handbook. It's got everything you need from a policy perspective. You can go in, you can update what you need that's specific to your farm, you can change some of the parameters on vacation or hours of operation, whatever it might be. But everything is there for you to customize to be yours. Again, similar to the job descriptions, there's a checklist and a step-by-step process that you can follow to make sure you have everything you need. So, as Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you might not get there. So, that's a really important part of this process as well. So just like you do your operational planning, you plan your inputs for the year, your workforce planning is just as important as that planning your inputs and planning what you're doing for the year. You need to ensure that you have the right people in place and that type of thing. So again, this toolkit has what you need for that HR planning. Should be a key part of your operational plan every year as well. You just walk through with that checklist for HR planning and follow it through, and you're going to have what you need. If you're going in for a loan or going to the bank for financing as well, having that HR plan and having things formalized really goes a long ways in that process as well. So the toolkit, there's tons of information in it. It is easy to navigate, But, you know, there are some things that you probably just want to go in, look around, get familiar with what you're needing, and then take a look at, you know, to give some thought to what you really need to start out with, and then how you prioritize implementing some of these different aspects into your operation. The other thing I will say is we also provide HR consulting, so, and we do webinars, we do walkthroughs of the toolkit and that type of thing to help support you as well. So if you're finding you need a little bit more than a self-guided toolkit, we're there for you as well. So some of our other products and services to support the HR side, we have commodity-specific training, we have quite a bit of support around hiring temporary foreign workers, both through webinars, a micro-credential and training that you can take, and also consulting. We have some training for agriculture supervisors, women in agriculture leadership training, agriculture HR management training, both from a more detailed micro-credential where you're kind of part of a virtual class, live class over a number of weeks, or there's also online self-directed learning as well. The toolkit we've talked about. If you just really want to engage with other people working in agriculture and managing employees, the Community of Practice is a free resource. It's a great hub of people from across Canada that manage their producers. You know, mostly in agriculture, we don't have HR managers that are full-time. Usually it's the farm operator, business owner, trying to run the business and manage HR. So this Community of Practice is a good place to connect in, ask people questions. There's free webinars, free you know, Q&As and things like that as well. And the people in the Community of Practice are very similar to you. They're managing their farms, they've got questions, they're managing people, so it's a good resource for sure. I mentioned the HR management micro-credential, so this is an 8-week course that has some e-learning, live sessions, and group discussion. If you take the course, when you come out, you actually have all of the assignments and all the work that is done is specific to your operation. So when you finish the course, it's not that you've done a bunch of case studies and hypothetical things. You're building your HR plan and your HR resources for your operation. I mentioned the Women in Agriculture Leadership Skills Development Program as well. That's also a virtual course. Supervisory leadership skills. This is really designed for people that, you know, are moving into supervisory roles or might be in a supervisory role but hasn't had a lot of formal training. Again, it's delivered in a way that's virtual with some e-learning and some assignments that are directly related to applied, I guess, to the job that you're in. And temporary foreign worker program, school for employers. So this program really helps you understand, especially if you're new to hiring temporary foreign workers, it helps you understand the different streams that are available, what stream might work best for you, your obligations, how to apply, how to be successful applying, and then your obligations on what you need on the farm once you're an employee in the temporary foreign workers. I mentioned also the HR training, self-directed, online, easy to access. All the training CAP members have a 10% discount on. Equity, diversity, and inclusion as well, self-directed learning there as well, which can be really great if you're hiring temporary foreign workers for the first time, especially when you're looking at having more diverse cultures on your farm. And so I was going to do a live demo of the HR Toolkit. I know we're just a little bit behind time, so I am around until about 3 o'clock today. I'll be around at lunch. If anyone wants to come and sit down and kind of walk through the toolkit, I can do that and easily navigate you, show you how you register, show you how it all works, answer any questions that you might have as well. And then Victoria Schuler is our Director of HR Products and Services. And she's the one that kind of leads all of our HR work as well as our temporary foreign worker program training and consulting as well. She's a wealth of knowledge, lives in Saskatoon, is a registered immigration consultant as well. So just a good resource for anything that you might need from an HR perspective. So thank you again for having me. I'll be around all afternoon, and thank you to CAP for the continued support of the work that we do. Looking forward to continuing that work as well.
All right, I'll get everyone to have a seat and quiet down, and we will go into our presentation on the financial statements. I'd like to introduce Jeff Eckstein from Myers Norris & Penny, who will present the financial statements for CAP.
Thanks, Jill, and good morning, everyone. I'm a partner in M&P's Winnipeg office, and I am the lead engagement partner on the CAP annual financial statement audit. Today, I'm going to present the October 31st, 2025 audited financial statements. My intention is to do a high-level overview and highlight some of the more significant changes from the prior year. So I'm going to begin with the independent auditor's report. The overall content and wording of the audit report is consistent with the prior year. There's been no changes to Canadian auditing standards that dictated a change to the standard independent auditor's report. But for those who may not be familiar with a financial statement audit, the responsibility of the auditor is to express an opinion on the financial statements with respect to their fair presentation in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. And the audit itself must comply with Canadian auditing standards. So as the opinion paragraph of the audit report notes, based on the audit procedures performed, M&P has opined that the financial statements of CAP are fairly presented as at and for the year end October 31st, 2025. So this represents an unqualified or a clean audit opinion. If you can scroll down a couple of pages. Yeah, keep going. There we go. So we're moving on to the statement of financial position. Overall, total assets were up from the prior year with an increase of approximately $445,000 or about 20% from 2024. The overall increase in total assets was due to increases in cash, accounts receivable, and investments, which increased approximately $306,000, $73,000, and $63,000 respectively. The changes in cash and accounts receivable were a result of timing of collections of receivables and some expenses at year end. The increase in investments was due to income earned on the investment portfolio during the year, as well as an increase in market values at year end. Capital assets had a decrease primarily due to amortization expense for the period. If we look at total liabilities had an increase of about $319,000. There was an increase in accounts payable of $148,000 and an increase of about $164,000 in the producer refunds payable. The increase in accounts payable was due to a higher use of corporate credit cards, some year-end salary accruals, and also the recognition of a potential legal claim related to severance for a former employee. Producer refunds payable increased due to the timing of when those checks are issued relative to the prior year. Unclaimed membership fees have also increased as CAP is working to reissue checks to producers for those unclaimed fees. Unearned membership fees had a decrease due to the timing of members paying for the 25-26 memberships, with more producers paying those amounts after October 31st, 2025. And then moving to the net assets section, year-over-year increase of $120,000, and that's due to the current period excess of revenues over expenses. Overall, cash resources and working capital of the organization continue to remain healthy. If we can scroll to the next page, please. Okay, so moving on to the statement of operations and changes in net assets. and starting with the revenue section. Overall, total revenues had a decrease of $385,000, or approximately 15% compared to 2024. You'll see there was a decrease in membership revenue due to membership numbers. However, overall membership remains consistent with CAP's historical average. There was a decrease in province of Manitoba revenue of about $180,000, and that related to decreases in farm safety program and the environmental farm program funding during the year. The loyalty payment from cooperators was also a bit lower due to a significant insurance loss events they experienced in the prior year. Supporter revenue on this statement is showing a decrease of about $100,000. However, this is a result of some adjustments made to reconcile some of the producer refunds payable account during the year. So if we ignore those adjustments, actual supporter revenue for 2025 was pretty much consistent with 2024. Unclaimed membership refunds saw a decrease due to CAP working to reissue checks to those producers. If you want to scroll to the next page, we'll move to the expenses side of the statement. So this shows total expenses decreased about $283,000, or about 12.5% year over year. The overall decrease in expenses was largely due to lower expenses related to the environmental farm plan and farm safety program. There was an increase in salaries and wages year over year of about $56,000. That's due to the accrual that was made for the potential severance payout to the former CAP employee. Lastly, annual meeting expenses were down due to the prior year being CAP's 40th anniversary, which resulted in some additional expenses. If you want to scroll down a little more. Perfect, yep, stop there. So excess of revenues for 2025 before other items was approximately $81,000. There were unrealized gains on the investment portfolio of $46,000 during the year, for a total ending excess of revenue over expenses of $127,000. And that takes the ending net assets to $1,793,000. If you want to move to the next page, please. So this next statement is the statement of cash flows. This statement breaks out the change in the cash balance year over year and segregates it between operating activities, investing, and financing activities. So the statement shows the organization generated cash from operating activities of $331,000 and had a net decrease in cash from investing activities of $25,000, and no cash was generated or used for financing activities during the year. So this resulted in the total year-over-year increase in the cash balance of $305,000. So that takes care of the primary statements within the financial statements. Accompanying these primary statements are a set of note disclosures that are required by Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. These notes give some further breakdown information on certain accounts on both the balance sheet and the income statement. Overall, these note disclosures are consistent with the prior year. And also included behind the note disclosures are 6 schedules that disclose major expenses by function and certain revenue and expenses by program. So if we could scroll down to the schedules, you need to scroll a few pages here. Yep, keep going until you get to Schedule 1. Here we go. So we'll just quickly kind of show you each of the schedules within the financial statements. So we got the Schedule 1 here. Decrease of these expenses from $452,000 to $397,000 during the year. If you can scroll to the next schedule, please. So we got the admin support expenses. Previous year, 815,000, current year, 775,000. Next schedule, please. We got the general expenses, last year 108,000, current year 127,000. Next schedule, please. Office expenses, 238,000 the prior year, 320,000 in the current year.
Okay, and just to keep things going, of course, we have a motion to be put on the floor for appointing the auditor for this current year. And so I'd this time ask for a motion on the floor for MNP for auditor for CAP. Thank you, Jeneth. And a seconder for that motion? We got Shannon Piziak. Okay, any questions? Seeing no hands up, I will ask the question for the motion that's on the floor for MNP for the auditor for the current year. All those in favor? Those opposed? Abstain? Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you very much. So the next item that we have on the agenda, there was amendments to our bylaw with some of our governance and best practices transition that we have done through the governance committee. It's taken over the last number of years, and so again this year there were a few items, house cleaning items to change, just amend some of the wording in our current bylaws to make it more succinct, to take away any of the discrepancies that might be there or interpretations. So those packages were all sent to you with your packages. Do we have a slide with those? No, we don't have a slide. So you should have that in your packages as to the bylaw changes that have been recommended. And so for this motion that I'm going to be asking for is for carrying of these as a package, so they're all inclusive together. And we do need 2/3 majority for approval on this, with it being a bylaw change. And I am going to ask you to use your clickers. So any of the members that are in the audience, you will have a clicker in your hand. If you want to, please turn on your iClicker. And button A will be if you are in favor of the bylaw amendments. And button B will be if you oppose. So to start with, I will get the question on the floor. So I would ask for a motion to approve the bylaw amendments, if I can get that motion. Les? Thank you, Les. And a seconder? Kevin Peters? Oh, and we've got a test question. Okay, so if we want to go ahead and do the test question here, and then if there's any discussion on the amendments, we will certainly entertain the discussion. So if everyone wants to answer the question, we'll see if everyone's iClicker is working. Okay, everyone, the clicker is working? What was the answer? I'm just funny. Okay, good. So I will now entertain any discussion on the motion on the floor to accept the bylaws as presented. Any discussion, questions? Put up your hand. We can bring a mic out. Any questions? Going once? Okay, seeing no hands up, then I guess we will ask the question. Those in favor and those opposed, please click on your appropriate iClicker. And we're good. Thank you very much. One more step done in updating those bylaws, so thank you very much for your participation. So I'll give the Resolutions Committee a few minutes to get up to the stage, and we will roll into the resolution portion of the meeting.
All right, we'll begin with the resolutions here. All right, with that, we'll use the iClickers. The resolution is to accept the 2 late resolutions and have the students present their resolution prior to lunch. So all in favor, A, opposed is B. All right, thank you. That is carried. So I guess jumping back into the notes here, I should have started reading. My name is Colin Penner. I'm the chair of the Resolutions Committee. And the resolutions procedure is, it's in our package, correct, Neil? And there are resolutions from 2021 will sunset, and so the resolution procedure is included in the AGM package. The list of sunsetting resolutions was sent to the delegates in December, and it was posted on the website in December of 2025. So can I ask for a motion to ratify this procedure? Thank you, Sam. Seconder? Thank you, David. All in favor, we'll vote with the iClickers again. A, opposed, B. Les, would you like to make a motion on the late resolutions? Or sorry, the sunsetting resolutions?
I don't know if there's a resolution that was put forward in the past on this. I don't think it's on in the minutes. I haven't looked, or even how it was discussed. But I will put a resolution forward, a motion forward to postpone the sunset resolutions from being put aside until next year, until we have access or to the information about what CAP has done about these resolutions.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a seconder.
I would second that.
Okay, thank you, Les.
Just
Any comments now? Yeah.
Just a comment that, like, one more year, and we would have an explanation of how the staff approached that. I think that's a great motion there, Les. Thanks.
Jake Air, District 1. I was just going to comment that sunsetting a resolution does not mean that it's complete. It just is in our policy and it stays in our policy. So if you sunset a resolution, that does not render it as completely complete and off the books altogether, just for clarification purposes.
Thank you, Jake. All right, with that, I'll call the vote. Again, iClicker, A is in favor and B is opposed.
In favor of the
Of deferring the sunset for a year. That's the motion. It's in favor? Okay, so we will defer the sunsetting for a year. Thank you. All right, let's start with the resolutions now. The members of the resolution committee will only read out the resolved portion of each resolution. However, with the late resolutions, the entire resolution will be read out. The voting, again, is done on our iClicker. Let's begin with the first resolution.
Therefore, be it resolved that CAP lobby the Government of Manitoba to ensure that the provincial drainage networks are maintained on an annual basis.
Mover?
Craig Reese. If anybody has any comment on the first 4 resolutions when it comes to drainage in the province, please come and speak on it now, but I think we can handle all 4 of these with one vote, one set of debate. These are all existing CAP policy. There is nothing new here. Not sure why the resolutions were even brought here, because they are CAP policy. Perhaps this is just a reminder to the CAP organization that perhaps drainage should be coming more to the forefront of what you're doing with the province that there's some frustration out with producers when it comes to drainage in the province.
Thank you, Craig. Any other comments?
When you're talking drains, are we talking infrastructure as well? If not, I want an amendment for infrastructure, because the bridges across a lot of the drainages are failing in southern Manitoba at least, and it needs attention. So if it doesn't include it, I would make a amendment that we include infrastructure.
So would you like to amend this one, or would you like to look at the resolutions and see if it fits in with a different resolution, Jack?
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that too.
Okay.
Sorry, the intent on this is dealing with drainage, so that would change the intent. So we are dealing with just provincial drainage networks, the maintenance, and making sure that it's done on an annual basis. So it is particular in its ask in this resolution.
All right, seeing no further discussion, I call the question. In favor, A. B, opposed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I wasn't paying much attention, but which resolution are we actually talking to right now? Are we dealing with this one, or are we dealing with the group?
We're dealing with just this resolution, one resolution at a time, yes.
Okay, great. And this one is quite specific to provincial drainage, and the province has been non-existent when it comes to doing provincial drains. Municipal you can deal with on a different level, so we need CAP to deal with the provincial part of it.
So Les, I'm going to cut you off. I've called for the vote already. So yeah, we'll continue with the process. Neil, do you have the results? All right, that has passed. Right, the second resolution.
Therefore, be it resolved that CAP lobby the government of Manitoba to review the drainage permitting process, consult with producers, and make changes aimed at improving the speed and predictability for agricultural subsurface drainage projects.
Chuck Fossey, I'll move the resolution.
And thank you, Chuck. Seconder? Thank you, Randy. Any discussion? Chuck, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just keep it fairly short. In many cases, farmers are looking at doing tile drainage and other drainage works to try to improve the value and the productivity of their land, and quite often there are roadblocks put in their way because of the permitting challenges that they face, and just trying to suggest that there's ways to speed these things up so that farmers can get their projects done and get back to farming.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Any other comments? All right, seeing no other comments, I call the vote. A is in favor, B is opposed. That is carried. Resolution number 3, drainage network maintenance.
Therefore, be it resolved that CAP, while collaborating with the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, encourage local municipal governments to enter into agreements with producers to conduct drainage maintenance work.
Chuck Fossey, I'll move the motion.
Thank you, Chuck. Seconder? Thank you, Ms. Verwey.
Okay, at the District 6 meeting, we had discussions with some of our members, and the thoughts were that, quite often it is difficult to get some of the work done on your drains along the side of your field, mowing is an example, and we thought that maybe there's some way that where the municipalities are limited either through budgets or through manpower or timing, that they can enter into agreements with producers and let the producers do the maintenance along some of their not field drains, but on ditches along their fields and things like that. So that was the intent of the resolution, is just to let's make sure those drains are well mowed and well maintained to speed up any drainage issues off your fields.
Thank you, Chuck. Any further comments? Seeing no further comments, I call the vote. A in favor, B is opposed. That is carried. We'll do one more resolution, and then we will do the students' resolution. So resolution number 4.
Therefore, be it resolved that CAP lobby the government of Manitoba to encourage multi-year municipal provincial contracts for summer maintenance of highway rights-of-way.
Do I have a mover?
Chuck Fossey, I'll speak to this resolution as well. I move it.
Seconder, Ms. Verwey. Chuck?
Okay. So we all know that quite often ditches and ditch sides provide a habitat for noxious weeds and other, weeds of different types. And so really, it'd be nice if there's some way that these weeds could be controlled through mowing or spraying or other operations. So we really encourage the government of Manitoba to look at multi-year contracts with different, I guess, service suppliers in order to maintain the right-of-way and control these weeds rather than doing it on a year-to-year basis.
Thank you, Chuck. Any further comments? All right, seeing none, I call the vote. A in favor, B is opposed. And that is carried as well. So with these late resolutions, it needs a two-thirds agreement to pass. So with that, we'll do the first late resolution. Oh. So we will lead out the whole whereases and the resolution as well. Okay. Well, all good, Shannon.
Whereas RTAC designated roads provide essential transportation routes for agricultural producers, allowing the safe and efficient movement of heavy farm equipment, inputs, and commodities. Whereas many agricultural regions in Manitoba lack sufficient RTAC classified roads, resulting in longer travel distances, increased wear on municipal infrastructure, and reduced transportation efficiency. And whereas expanding RTAC road networks would support farm productivity, reduce transportation costs, and strengthen rural economic development, now therefore be it resolved that CAP lobby the government of Manitoba for an expansion of RTAC designated roads, particularly in the areas of high agricultural production, to ensure safe, efficient, and reliable transportation for modern farming operations.
Mover?
Reg Dick, District 3.
Seconder?
Les Ferris, District 2.
Thank you, Les.
Sorry, no problem. Well, I'm just trying to speed it up.
Jack Fraze, District 3.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Would the mover like to speak to this?
I will let the students speak to the resolution.
All right, students.
It's Bryce Vischer. I think that with the lack of RTAC roads in Manitoba, especially north-south.
Good morning, my name is David Weeb. My personal experience of not having RTAC roads within 6 miles of the south of the farm and at least 9 miles north, east, west of the farm has made it difficult to haul our grain. Either have to take a longer route by having to backtrack south to haul anywhere. If we want to use maximum capacity, we should have to apply for a permit. The provincial government, the provincial roads are in disrepair from heavy equipment that has been traveling down these roads. The provincial road 305 is heavily used not only by agriculture purposes, but for non-ag heavy equipment. This has led the road to be in disrepair and increased wear on the equipment traveling on this road.
I think for me, not having many RTAC roads in our area has definitely made it harder for the farm operation, and it's just like certain times of the year there's weight restrictions and whatnot, and only hauling 2/3 of a load that you can normally haul is just takes more time throughout the day. You have to take more loads, and yeah, it just costs more fuel consumption and time. It takes time away for other farm projects, and yeah, I think that this going through would definitely be beneficial for farmers and the ag industry altogether.
For my farm, we have issues getting grain out, in that we have to take detours and go the opposite way by 13 miles to actually hit our RTAC road with full loads of grain. This is a reduction in efficiency for our farm. So I think with strategic placement of more RTAC roads, we could have reduced detours and increase transportation efficiency for the agriculture industry.
All right, seeing no further comments, I'll call the question. In favor? Oh, come on up, Les. You got me.
Sorry, I appreciate rushing things along, but it's great that we're having a discussion with these people. And I totally agree with them. It's great to have the general population pay for our roads instead of paying for them ourselves. We have a process in place right now called TPIF, where individuals can pay for that access if the province is willing to give it to you. It's not predictable. There's no guarantee that you're going to get it. And the process that these guys are targeting is the ideal and the only guaranteed way of getting RTAC.
I was curious if you have any kind of financial wild-ass guesses in terms of the cost benefit of this to the province and how it compares to all the other places the government is asked to put their money.
I would say for many of the north-south roads, especially between Brandon and Portage, they are in need of constant repair because they're practically worn out. So I would say that doing a total redo of them and making them proper RTAC roads would be a good long-term investment, but I don't have actual numbers on that.
First, I want to compliment the students on their resolution and their presentation to it. But I was just wondering if they want to, I think, following up on David, identifying specific areas of importance, because I just did a quick Google search, and the province of Manitoba has a proposed, I think it's 4,400 kilometer RTAC program of roads that they are trying to develop. There's roughly 3,700 kilometers of that system in place already, and there's about another 700 kilometers that's being proposed for future expansion. Now, are there certain areas that should be expanded quickly and are not? And the other thing you got to remember is just because a road is built to RTAC standards doesn't mean that the province will let you haul RTAC loads on those roads. So you got to remember that, because certainly that's the issue in around our areas there, Colin, where we have roads that are set at RTAC, have been built to RTAC standards, but there's still restrictions on those loads. So be careful what you're asking for, or make sure you know what you're asking for, and tell the government what are those priorities, because they might start fixing up RTAC roads, but it's going to be around the city of Winnipeg. It's not going to be out in the rural areas where you want them.
I'll call the votes. In favor, A, and opposed is B, and a 2/3 majority to pass. And that passes. Thank you. Number 5, anaerobic tolerant species planting for waterway infrastructure in Manitoba.
All right. Be it resolved that CAP lobby the government of Manitoba to research effective methods, example, Minnesota's Department of Transportation's best management practices, to seed and establish storm-proof drainage infrastructure.
Can you read the result before?
Oh, there's one there too.
Yeah.
My arms are too short. And also be it resolved that CAP lobby rural municipalities and the government of Manitoba to use seed mixtures of true riparian species, example, foul bluegrass and red top, along with red clover and trefoil that can withstand flooded conditions. And that's it.
Thank you. Mover?
Chuck Bossy.
Seconder? Thank you, Reg. Go ahead, Chuck. Do you have any comments?
Okay. Unfortunately, the District 10 person who's going to speak to this resolution couldn't make it today, so he asked me to speak to this. And basically, the idea is that whenever the province or municipalities are repairing ditches, and there's a lot of open exposed soil, that they should be planting some kind of seed mixtures of, as it says there, riparian species that can withstand the flooding conditions, that will be able to control erosion, and then, prevent the establishments of weeds and other pests in those exposed soil areas of the ditches. So essentially, that's what it's dealing with.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I can understand the merits of having these waterways seeded down for erosion protection, and I think that's a good thing to do, but I think we also have to be careful on the varieties that are being used. We don't want to be planting species in there that grow 6 feet high, because then they become an impediment to water flow. So unless the province is then prepared to mow those ditches every year, then by planting them down to some of these species, we may unintentionally be creating a different problem. So I think we have to be very careful on the type of species that are used.
Any other comments? All right, seeing no further comments, I call a vote. A is in favor and B is opposed. Okay. All right, thank you. That is passed. We'll continue on. Number 6, Wildlife Population Survey.
I was a page ahead. I'll go back. Be it resolved that CAP lobby the government of Manitoba for up-to-date wildlife population numbers in western Manitoba.
A mover? Okay. Reg, thank you. Seconder? Sorry. Curtis, thank you. Reg, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know who actually brought this resolution to the floor, but I certainly would love to speak to this. If you come from our part of the world, you'll find that there's far too many elk in our part of the country. Lionel saw a herd of 100 here yesterday. Morse saw a herd of over 100. And actually, besides predation on people's crops and breaking fences and getting into people's silage piles and eating their hay piles and eating their standing corn, there's also a real risk of disease happening in the cattle herd. Right now in central Manitoba, there's evidence of chronic wasting disease in deer, and there'd be no reason why it can't spread to elk. And given the fact that elk go and eat in silage piles and people's hay piles, and of course they do other things in their hay piles too, and the cattle will eat it, it might get into the cattle herd, even though it hasn't. There's no evidence of it happening anyplace else, but there's always that possibility. Like I think in our area, we're talking here, and we probably have 7,000 head of cattle in our municipality. It would be devastating to both the farming population and the cattle herd and the farming economy if this was allowed to spread. Thank you.
Thank you, Reg. Any other comments?
Having the population surveys may be helpful, but unless there's some positive outcomes out of it, it might be questionable benefit. I'm from an area that we have record numbers of elk, and the wildlife damage claims speak for themselves. There's days I think I'm running a feedlot and not a grain farm. But I think one of the challenges is over the last number of years, Resources Department has continuously been reducing the number of hunting tags available. For me to get a hunting tag for elk, I got better odds at winning Lotto 749 or 649. And I think if they're going to manage those herd populations, they need to have a serious look at how they're issuing hunting tags, because in certain areas, they've reduced the number of tags to the point where it's almost questionable why they have a season anymore, and yet we're seeing herds of, as mentioned earlier, 100 at a time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to speak about the elk numbers, but that's been said already. Also very worried. We farm north of Holland, Manitoba, and there's elk everywhere. Worried about another 2-3 years, the numbers are going to get so large, we're probably going to have chronic wasting disease or something else kick in. That's going to hurt beef herds. That's going to kill our deer. We use Manitoba crop insurance to figure out claims on our crops. And I'm not dissing any of them. I think people that are going to do a wildlife claim, they have to be trained, and they have to come out in May and June and July before that crop reaches maturity. We had 700 acres of beans down 2 years ago this summer, and it was on about 4 miles of the Assiniboine Valley. Well, they ate all summer long. Like, I'd go out there with my quad, check for weeds, and there'd be 8 inches tall of soybeans, but lots of it was eaten down to the ground. Now, as the season progresses, these shorter plants do mature, but they stop at about 2 feet high, and the rest of the crop's 4 feet high. None of that is considered in the claim. We got a pretty good payment 2 years ago. I figured we got 50% of the damage, and that took a lot of work. This year, I probably got more money in my wallet than we got this year. I think they need to extend the landowner licenses to be 2 months, October 1st to December 1st. And anyone within a certain area, that would have to be decided by, I'm not sure who, has to decide that area where the elk are. And they should be able to drive to Carberry or Portage or wherever there's a wildlife branch and buy a tag direct, no draw. I think the draws outside of landowner should jump to 250 until we get this under control. Like, you know, I jotted a bunch of stuff down here, but I could almost talk better without even looking at my notes. It's a real serious issue, and something has to be done very soon. We need a lot of licenses this year. And there was a resolution in February last year, and the area is misquoted. It should be area 30 plus 31. Right now it's on 31 and 31A. I talked to the person that made that motion.
Okay.
I don't think he was aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, I'll call the vote. A for affirming this. All right, that is carried. Number 7, pollinator-friendly roadside and drainage seating.
All right, Resolution 7. Be it resolved that CAP, while collaborating with the Association of Manitoba Municipalities and Watershed Districts, lobby the Government of Manitoba to support the use of appropriate low-maintenance flowering species, including clovers and bird's trefoil, in seed mixtures used for highway and drainage projects.
Moved by?
Chuck Fossey, I'll move this resolution since there's nobody else here.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Seconder, Jake Eyre, thank you. Chuck, would you like to speak to this?
Well, again, I know in some of my discussions with beekeepers in the past, they're always looking for, flowering plants to help, during pre-canola flowering seasons and post-canola flowering, that they're always looking for flowering plants such as clover and other trefoil and other plants that can provide that food that the bees need. And really, I'm speaking on behalf as a canola producer. Pollinators really aid in the yield of canola. So if you got lots of pollinators, that's going to assist you in having higher canola yields. So I think this really ties in with, as I said, Resolution 5. It helps with dealing with erosion, and it also will provide additional food sources for our pollinators.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing no other comments, I'll call the vote. A in favor, B opposed. That is carried, thank you. Number 8, agricultural plastics.
Therefore, be it resolved that CAP lobby the Government of Manitoba and Clean Farms to look at the feasibility and efficiency of using agricultural plastics for high-grade fuel.
Do we have a mover? Thank you, David. Seconder? Jake Eyre, thank you. David, would you like to speak to it?
I actually might like to change the last four words to just remove high-grade fuels from that. I think that's still an issue, but there's a larger issue. So whereas farmers pay for the plastic recycling, whereas Clean Farms website offers no financial accountability, whereas Clean Farms has 26 people on staff and have a board of 11, which only has one farmer on it. He's sitting right here, Bob. I guess I'm looking for better efficiency of our dollars that go into the plastic recycling, and are they pursuing? I did talk to Barry Friesen yesterday, and he's quite assured that they're doing everything they can. But all these streams, they're hauling around a lot of air, and they're hauling at multiple times, and it doesn't seem like it's as efficient as it could be. So I'd like to initiate a better study of the efficiency of terminating or reusing those plastic, or potentially just one stream going into a high-grade fuel.
So do you want to amend?
Yeah, I can amend that just to take out for high-grade fuel.
Okay, so that's the motion, the amendment, a seconder. Reg Dick, any discussion on the amendment? All right, then we'll call the vote on the amendment in favor of changing getting rid of the for high-grade fuel. Yes, we're voting on the amendment. All right, it looks like the amendment is carried. So back to the resolution. Any further comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chuck Fossey, and I promise this last time I'm going to stand up and speak to a resolution. I'm glad David struck out or changed the resolution, and we still need to strike out the for fuels part, I think, because we're talking about feasibility and efficiency of using agricultural plastics. I like the amended resolution because, really it provides a little bit more direction other than just talking about using plastics for fuel. I think really though we should be looking at solutions to agricultural plastics. I know that there is some research going on through the Canola Council of Canada for developing biodegradable plastics using canola meal as part of the blend that would then be biodegradable. So, we need solutions that can work on the farm. It's much easier just to put those grain bags in the corner of your yard, let them biodegrade, rather than having to figure out, where do I bring them to get recycled? Are they going to get recycled? What are they going to be used for? And it's not just grain bags. We're looking at silage, we're looking at bale wraps, we're looking at twine. There's all sorts of problems with plastics. I had a conversation with Clean Farms back at Ag Days, and yeah, they recognize there's a problem, and one of the solutions might even be, hey, right now maybe all we need to do is bury the plastics, and then in 10 years, when we find the solution, then we dig them up and we use them. But let's try and find a solution first rather than doing a lot of studies and efficiencies and things like that.
Thank you. Any further comments? I'll call the votes. All in favor, A. All opposed, B. And that is carried. Resolution number 9.
Resolution 9, be it resolved that CAP lobby the Government of Canada to develop a global commercialization plan for the nitrogen fixing trait developed by AAFC.
Do you have a mover? David York, District 1. Thank you, David. Seconder? Curtis, thank you. David, do you have any comments?
Sure. Kind of in my pursuit of what I call net positive, or the movement to greater stewardship of the land and the environment, there's a few things that need to be done that would be on a wish list. And one of those things is to develop an alternative to nitrogen-based or fossil fuel-based nitrogen fertilizers. 85% of a normal grain farm emissions come from nitrogen-based fertilizers. So this technology has been worked on for 15 years. It's a very unique technology. Nobody in the world has done it. It's patented. And Dr. Zemanowicz has been able to put it into triticale, but she can also assure me that it can go into any non-legume. So it could change the world as we know it in terms of nitrogen fertilizer. My concern is that it's a GMO product, and it needs a very strategic global commercialization. And I think the government, particularly in this environment, needs to be pushed to make sure they realize what they already have. Well, I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments? All right, seeing no further comments, I'll call the question. That is carried. So in the package, the next is the late resolution for the RTAC roads, which we've dealt with. And then on the next page in the package, it's the resolution to be reaffirmed. We don't need to reaffirm this resolution as we've deferred the sunsetting for a year, so we can deal with that down the road. But we do have one further a late resolution that has was brought to the floor earlier.
I'm supposed to read it all, right?
Yes.
Whereas on January the 23rd, 2026, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada announced 665 positions and 7 agriculture research facilities are to be cut, including research and development centers in Guelph, Ontario, Quebec City, Lacombe, Alberta, along with satellite farms in Napan, Nova Scotia, Scotland, Indian Head, Saskatchewan, and Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. Whereas public plant research and testing across multiple locations in Canada is required for the next generation of crops to be able to thrive in a diverse set of growing conditions, and whereas CSGA has stated, weakening public research capacity creates ripple effects throughout the system, from plant breeding and variety registration to certified seed production, farm productivity, and export competitiveness. These cuts may yield short-term fiscal savings, but they carry long-term consequences that far outweigh any immediate gain. Therefore, be it resolved that CAP lobby the Government of Canada to reverse the cuts and closures to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada that were announced on January the 23rd, 2026.
Do I have a mover? Right. Dean, thank you. Seconder? Thank you, David. Dean, would you like to speak to the resolution?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So this has happened very recently, so hence being final or an emergency resolution. I think and I hope that this room will consider that what is happening here will have an impact on us, on our farms, next generation of farms, and it was done with not a whole lot of understanding and oversight. It seems like now Ag Canada is asking these researchers, well, how can we make this work after deciding to fire some of them? These are generations of people who've worked their lives for the benefit of us and citizens of Canada. We know that specifically in agriculture, in the public work there, that there has been multiplier effects that help Canadians. In wheat, a study was done by Richard Gray specifically showing that every dollar multiplies to over $31 in the Canadian economy and elsewhere. And there haven't been studies of every single part of research that they do. Even, especially here, if we look at Manitoba, Portage la Prairie Research Station could be going. I think we should be fighting tooth and nail to try to keep these things. I hope that farmers write their letters. Every farmer should be writing a letter to the Ag Minister and their representatives. And I hope that CAP and its members will support this. If you've been read up on this, do what you can, but just specifically, our esteemed writer, Laura Rance, wrote this, if this just to help clarify some of the issues. But these assets can't be replaced once gone. The researchers, support staff, and programs won't be back, and they'll be taking their intellectual capital with them. Agricultural research is long-term investment, so some of the impacts of cuts today won't become apparent for a decade or more down the road. Shifting the bill for innovation to the private sector influences the type of research that takes place. The focus moves from developing new ideas, which take a long time, to extracting as much as possible from what we already know. So I ask for your support and that we should work with multiple organizations to push back against this move. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. David?
Just wanted to share a few things that I've observed over the last years. And Richard Gray has studied and found that the public wheat system has outperformed the private canola system in terms of increase in yield per year. So it's very valuable. We keep that. I actually picked up the head breeder from Australia in Winnipeg and drove him all the way to Swift Current. He said that we had one of the top 3 wheat breeding programs in the world, one being Simmet, one of course being his, and Swift Current. So we can't lose that, and that station's not jeopardized right now, but the lead breeder has quit from frustration working in that environment. Kelly Turkington will be let go out of Lacombe. He's the only one in Canada that can do the barley scald tests for registration. We would lose that capability. It takes a 6-year rotation at Indian Head to produce the breeder's seed. So if you disrupt that rotation, you lose the purity aspects of that. And this has been going on for a long time, but Tom Fletch, I believe, was never replaced. He was the only stem rust pathologist in Canada. So we're being challenged by our Prime Minister to grow and add to the economy, and we have been, but this is going to handicap us. Thanks.
Thank you.
The research has been done by various organizations on the ROI and the benefit of having this public plant breeding take place in Canada. The investment, the payback for every dollar spent in research is huge. I can't remember what that number is, but over the last 10 years, the Federal Civil Service has increased by approximately 110,000 people. If you do a quick Google search, most of those employees went to 6 government departments, and some of them had an increase of 48% in staff levels. The ag industry and Agriculture Canada has never seen the benefits of that kind of staff increase. While various other departments were seeing increases, Ag Canada staffing stayed status quo. Now the government is tasking all departments to take a 15% reduction. Well, I think the ag industry has already taken that hit for the team. We're asking to take even more. And I think it's disproportionate what they're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor, A. Opposed, B. That is carried. Thank you. And that's it for resolutions.
Thank you very much, Colin and team. Lots of great discussion, and I thank everyone for hanging back and finishing the rest of the resolutions, especially that last one. I think to have strong support. We're going to be heading to CFA later this month, and certainly that's going to be top of mind, I'm sure, with the group that's there. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank a couple of board members that are stepping aside, Sam Connery as well as Keith Cieslak. He's not here today, but thank you. Give them a round of applause for their efforts and contributions on the board. And again, I'd like to give a shout out to Colin and the team for all the extra effort for yet another great AGM, and I'm sure it was all enjoyed by everyone here. And thank you again for participation this afternoon on those discussions on drainage and digital ag, and I think that you know, from the feedback that we've received, that type of engagement and discussion around the tables is very valuable. So thank you for your participation this afternoon. And I guess on that note, that is the end of our AGM for this year. I'll ask for an adjournment. And before I do that, just a reminder to the commodity associations for their meeting in the Kildonan room right after we adjourn. And the board will be reconvening at, I believe, 4:15. And that's next door in where we had breakfast this morning. So thank you again. Drive safe home, and I'll ask for an adjournment for the AGM. Okay, Boris and Chuck. Thank you again. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.